that today's session is the comparison of these two classical works. We will pinpoint on some of the most important similar points between these two works, and we will also try to converge the influences of Lord Byron on Emily Bronte, and we'll try to trace the source of these influences. And we need also to understand the mentality of both authors to approach their works in an academic manner. So, guys, would you mind telling me what you have prepared for today's session?
Hello, Hoja.
Yes, Rasul.
Yes, sir.
What is your assignment today?
Just a minute, please. I will check it. Yeah, I sent it to you already. Yeah. Sorry. Here's it. Childe Harold's and Heathcliff as a Byronic hero. Heroes.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. So,
Ada and Malak studied on the sense of belonging and national side in both works. Okay, nice. What about you guys?
Hojam,
Yes.
hi. Marjan and we studied on Harold and Heathcliff as romantic misfits.
Okay, misfits. Nice.
So Hiba and I, we have written on nature and civilization.
Omar, again, say it again.
Hiba and I, nature and civilization.
Okay, dear. What about the other guys, Basim, Al Hassan, Safana?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I want to talk about the alienation and the two plays.
Alienation. Okay. Who is your partner?
I sorry, this is the problem, sir. I didn't find any partner. I asked the group for many times before, and they don't answer them. I didn't find any partner, sir.
What about Safana? Did you have a partner?
Sorry, sir. Savannah with me.
Okay.
We are
what about Al Hassan?
Yes, doctor.
Good morning, doctor. Your partner?
Yeah, my partner, Mr. Adil Ahmed. We have chosen, nature and love relationship.
Chosen love and nature. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Rasul. You may start, please.
Okay, sir. I would prefer to start talking about what does this is it a concept? I think Byronic hero. What does this concept mean now? So, as it's known that this concept was depicted from the character, the character of Lord Byron.
Okay.
So, when he started, as he mentioned once I woke up and find myself a famous person, so he became a figure, and many novelists, poets, interested in this character, in this really rebellion character. Lord Byron describes this character in one of his writings. He says that Byronic hero is a lonely, wild, and strange man. But instead of his being wild and strange as his appearance, he is a passionate person. He has a great passion, and he's wild and strange in this type of passion. So, when we read Wuthering Heights, we will figure out that Heathcliff exactly fits with this character. He's wild, strange, and his past is unknown also, and he's passionate also. So this character, Heathcliff, exactly fits with as a Byronic hero. Now, what made Emily Bronte to pick up this character or create such a character, although even her sister, Charlotte Bronte, and Margaret, Elizabeth Gaskell, said it's not the correct time, period or time. It's not. It's not good time for displaying such a character in a novel, because readers do not prefer such a character. But she gained, as we know, a good reputation, and her novel Wuthering Heights was one of the greatest novels ever written. So now, when I go to to my presentation, the aim of the paper that me and Savannah wrote is comparing Heathcliff with Childe Harold as both of them Byronic heroes. As many writers and essayists have tried to describe the Byronic hero, literature has become a very significant archetype. As it say that generally he is a rebel and a revoltful person. So one of the critics called Peter Thorslev says that pre-romantic heroes will give way to three distinct forms of heroes in the Romantic period. A valiant outlaw appears to be a victim of the culture he fights against, as we see Heathcliff. For Childe Harold, we can say that he is the same thing, because as he failed in encountering his society in England, so he chose to flee far away from his country and start his pilgrimage in Europe, and he involved in many problems there. He faced even maybe death, as he describes in his poem. Both romantic poets are there. This is what Thorslev says. Both romantic poets and their heroes considered themselves alienated and isolated from society. We can see easily that Heathcliff and Childe Harold are isolated and alienated, self-alienated and social alienated, which is two parts of alienation when we describe alienation. And chosen to nature or to God, or merely because of their radical ideas in the areas of social. Same thing we have here, the similarities between Heathcliff and Childe Harold, that they have both of them radical ideas toward their social. They are really rebellion characters. Mm-hmm. They have some form of defiance of or feeling of being outsiders in common. This is also a new another thing. Heathcliff and Childe Harold were outsiders. When we read Lord Byron's character at that period, he was really outsider because of his deeds, what he did there in England, and it was popular that time. And it seems that people do not like him, and he says that in his poem here.
Rasul,
Yes,
sorry for interrupting you here.
yes.
Which of these two characters do you find more violent, wilder, and more passionate, and why?
Absolutely Heathcliff.
Why?
Well, as a wild character and passionate, Heathcliff is more than Childe Harold. Childe Harold chose another path. He disappeared. He ran away from his country and
Why?
didn't.
Why did he run away from his country?
Well, I think that he wasn't an acceptable person in his society. They hated him, as he says. They didn't want to. Even I think they accused him for many things, and I think that they charged him for some deeds he did there. So he disappeared from his country and didn't go back till he died in Europe.
Well, did he disappear because of the hatred of people, or it was a voluntary act toward self-discovery? He decided to roam Europe, look around, and trying to explore the aspects of his hidden character, which he wanted to make, um, wanted to foreground for himself and for the other people around to rediscover himself. So
Okay. Yes,
the
this
thing about Childe Harold, that it's like a mock epic. Um, we have a person who is eligible to be a knight because the word child does not mean that he is a little child. He was a knight to be knighted soon. I mean, he has the characteristics of a knight, but you see that it's like a kind of mocking for the principles of chivalry. So instead of saving the world, instead of sacrificing himself for the sake of the world, for the sake of his society, he decided to what? He decided to enjoy his own desires, his own uh, luxurious moments, away from the demands of the society, away from the demands of the craft of being a knight. And when the moment of truth came, that he does not really fit for the principles um, of that title, being a knight, or to be knighted by the queen or the king of that time. So what he did is that he decided to roam. But you see, the interesting thing that you see about this character is that in the first two canons of the canto, of the narrative poem, see that a character who is completely pissed off, completely upset, sad, maroon, sullen, broken, feeling alienated and isolated, but he never questioned himself. He never said, and this is one of the things that you may add in comparison between Heathcliff and Childe Harold, that both are self-centered, both are arrogant, both are proud, both are selfish, completely selfish. So they never questioned their values. They questioned the world instead of questioning their values. So you see that this person, Childe Harold, in the first two books, in the first two cantos of the narrative poem, you see a person who is inexperienced, a person who is rebellious, a person who is blaming the world, blaming everyone, blaming everything around him, but never blamed himself. But the last two cantos, the last two books, which were written like years later after the first two cantos, this followed what? This followed the maturity of Byron himself. So in the last two books, you find a completely different person who is now mature, experienced, and started to understand the demands of his own profession as a knight. So he has become more social, more sacrificing, more universal. You see this movement from the individual to the universal, from the personal to the objective. You see this movement from someone who was all centering things around his own demands and his own ideas, to a person who started to think of the world. That is why you see that the first two cantos are teamed with what? With themes of rebellion, of individualism, of desire, of sexuality, of even incestuous relations, while the other two cantos are teamed with what? Are teamed with themes that have to do with the freedom of the world, with oppression, with the dictatorship of some of the dictators in the world, etc. So even the themes started to be more universal, more social, more objective, more human. So this adventure of Childe Harold taught him a lot. When we come to Heathcliff, you find something completely strange. You find completely the opposite. We started with a person who just wanted to be socializing with the other characters in the novel. He wanted to socialize with the family of Earnshaw, Catherine, and her brother and the others, but because of the maltreatment and because of the thing that happened to him, his love was denied, his passion was crushed, so they unleashed the monster inside him. He became more rebellious, more avenging, more monstrous, and he started to look for his personal things. So it is completely the opposite. One of the things that you may add to the characteristics of the Byronic hero, and by the way, guys, let me tell you this. Let me say, Rasul, thank you so much for your presentation. It was really nice. So
Sorry, sir.
Let me take it from here because we don't have really enough time.
Okay.
We have some other presentations. So
thank you.
Let me say these things because these are very important to understand the two characters and understand the character of Byron himself and his creation, the Byronic hero. Guys, you know very well that the only known poet during Byron's time was Byron. I mean, Wordsworth, Shelley, Keats, Blake, Coleridge were not known because they were marginalized and their ideas were not that much. And Byron himself was the only influence on Europe, in Germany, in England, in France, in Spain, in Italy. That is why there was a whole movement in his name, Byronism. Why? Because he is, first of all, he is rich, he is lord, he used to travel a lot, and his poetry was highly influential. Why Byron's poetry was highly influential than the other poets? Why was his poetry highly influential than the other poets? Do you have any idea, guys? I mean, Byron's poetry. Why was it more influential than, for example, Coleridge or Wordsworth or Shelley or Keats or even Blake?
Professor, maybe because of his position in the society, he could reach a wider audience. And also he had the necessary education intellectually and also socially.
Yeah, the same thing with the other guys. I mean, the same thing with Shelley. Shelley was also rich. Yeah, Shelley was also...
I think, sir, I think, sir, because he's traveling a lot, I think, because he's traveling for many countries and he gets experience from these countries, I think.
I know, but what made his poetry more popular? I mean, there are many poets who traveled around the world, but this does not make them as popular as Byron. There is something very strong in his poetry that attracted the attention of people. What is it? Carwan, that is plausible answer. Thank you so much. That's a plausible answer. Very good. Yes, what else?
Yes, doctor.
Yes, Al-Hassan.
Doctor, I think because he believes in emotion and nature.
Well, all the Romantics believe so. This is the slogan of the Romantics. That they were
and maybe because
nature.
his hero, it talks about alienation, because he went travel far from his people, because even sometimes you feel alienation inside your people, inside your country. So that's why he was looking for happiness outside of his country, just like Heathcliff.
Possible.
Yes. So this is my...
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, doctor.
Sir?
Yes,
maybe his personality, Lord Byron's personality, captured the imagination of Europeans and their mood at that period. So he has a great impact on whole European.
Let me tell you something, Rasul. Thank you so much for your nice, comment. Let me tell you something about Lord Byron. I once read that Keats' brother was highly influenced by Byron. So Keats wrote a letter to his brother, and he told him in the following words, I'm quoting, from the things that I remember. He said that you admire the character of Lord Byron, and I don't blame you. He is a very good poet, but there is something that you need to know, and this is the essential difference between Byron and the other Romantic poets, guys. He said, Lord Byron writes what he sees. I write what I feel. So, means what? Means that Byron is the only Romantic poet who synthesizes realism with Romanticism. This is why his poetry had a unique touch. Romantics were highly emotional, highly imaginative, while Byron did not only use his own biographical discoveries and adventures to be poured in his poetry, to be portrayed and delineated in his poetry, but also he used the history of the world. And besides, he considered himself to be what? To be cosmopolitan person, because he traveled a lot and he presented a world with a new and a fresh kind of poetry that blends Romanticism with realism, and he tried to create this rebellious character that he created. And let us state some things, some ideas about the creation that he made, the Byronic hero, and we will refer to Emily Bronte as well, because she is as important as Lord Byron. So you see, the thing is that for Lord Byron, he characterized his hero. The first thing that you can see in his hero is his rebellious nature. He could not stand oppression. He could not stand to stay in his place. He always wants change. He is overreacher. He wants to change the society, change life. He does not accept that the society should remain stagnant and stable and stative. He wants the society to change. He wants his life to change. He wants people around him to change. And he was urging people not to accept oppression, not to accept dictatorial, principles and ideas. We should not accept dictators, etc. That is why he admired the ideas of Jean-Jacques Rousseau. The other important thing about Lord Byron and about the Byronic hero is his charming nature as a human being. He is handsome, and he is tempting. That's why you see that that he was pursued by women, but not pursuing women because of his charm and because of his unique character. The same thing you can find in Heathcliff, that most of the women in the novel are after him. The other thing which is very, very important, one of the central characteristics about Byronic hero is that he suffers from a hidden sin. Hidden sin. What does this mean? It means that there is something that disturbed him always, the presence of some disturbing past event that traumatized him. So you find that even with Heathcliff, that there is something that is disturbing. Yes, Malik.
Doctor, I want to add something about it, because the pressure of the society that left on Byron is so strong that made him really different from the other romantics. For instance, he says about the society that I was unfit for, if what was whispered and muttered and murmured was true, I was unfit for England.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
If false, England was unfit for me, he says.
Yes, exactly. So, do you have any idea about the source of this mysteriousness about his hidden sin?
Sir? Sir, yes.
Yes, Rasul.
Yes. Really, this is one of the most important things that both Heathcliff and Lord Byron himself, as a person, suffered from. It is hidden sin, really. As we know that Lord Byron, when he was young, he had some relationships with others, which caused this hidden sin within his.
No, Rasul, that is not the source. The source is what? The source is that he was accused of having, of course, any young person may have, relationships with other women, but he was accused of having an incestuous relation with his sister. That is why
that was
the disturbing. Yes. That was the disturbing thing. The same thing with Heathcliff. Heathcliff's mysterious sin is that, first of all, his birth. We don't know whether he was the son of Earnshaw or not, because Mr. Earnshaw brought him, and some critics said that he might be the result of a kind of illegal relationship, that Earnshaw had a relationship with Heathcliff's mother. He had a relationship with a gypsy woman, and then he brought his son home, and that's why he preferred him a lot. That might be the source, or might be again the reason why Heathcliff came back educated and rich, and started to what, to practice his charm on the on people there, and practicing his revenge, because you know, he was heartbroken. He was treated like less than an animal, even not, let alone a human being. And this, as I said, as I mentioned, triggered the feelings of hatred, feelings of revenge, feelings of unsettlement in his character. All right, guys. Asla, you may start your presentation, please.
All right, Hajam. Marjan is going to start, Hajam, actually, and I'm gonna wrap it up. Okay.
Hey, Professor. So, what I want to start with is actually the background of Byronic Hero one more time, because I feel like there is more to it than only Byron's contribution to this type of romantic hero. And when we studied romantic misfits, we saw that it's very similar to Byronic hero. So we had to start from the concept of Byronic hero. Is it okay?
No problem. It's okay. But try to be brief, Omar.
Yeah. So when I first checked what is Byronic hero, I saw that yes, it's a type of romantic hero named after the Romantic English poet Lord Byron. But before him, although it wasn't officially named, there were such characters like, for example, Dr. Faustus, Frankenstein, or even from the mythology, the character Cain, Prometheus, and they are all characters which at the very beginning seems to be like villains, but actually they are intelligent, as you said, they are cunning, arrogant,
what do we call such kind of heroes, Omar?
Those kind of heroes.
What do we call them in literature?
Normally what we would say is tragic heroes.
No.
Would it be traditional heroes?
No.
No?
No. We call them anti-heroes.
Yes, villains, actually.
No. Anti-heroes are people who do not enjoy all the characteristics of a hero. They have, like, for example, we have 5 characteristics of heroes according to Aristotle.
Yes,
if they lack any of these, exactly. If they lack any of these, they are called anti-heroes. That's why in modern literature, all the characters that we have in literature are called anti-heroes, because they do not have nobility, they do not have catharsis, for example, they do not have tragic flow, they have many tragic flows, etc.
Totally, I agree
so we call them anti-heroes.
And what, as far as I understood, Lord Byron did was taking this anti-character and giving it a more of a shape, and then it was used in other novels, in the following novels, such as Wuthering Heights. So we have Childe Harold's Pilgrimage. It is talking about Harold's adventure on a self-discovery travels on the European continents. The reason, as you said, was a suspenseful or secret past caused them to go on such a journey. When it comes to Wuthering Heights, we have similar reason. Heathcliff was at the very beginning wasn't a clear character. We didn't know about his past. We didn't know about his
mysterious,
motives.
Both mysterious characters.
Exactly. And this sense of mystery actually what gives them this charisma, I believe.
Yes, exactly.
And they attract attention of the woman, of the people that surrounds them, but still they are misfits because they are alienated, they are self-centered, and they are questioning themselves or
Omar,
the society itself.
Let me tell you something. You know, the more the work is mysterious, the more it appeals to critics and readers. Why? Because if the character and the work is clear, people can have the interpretations so easily, but when the character is mysterious, why is Hamlet considered the most universal work in literature? Because of the enigmatic and mysterious nature of Hamlet.
Yeah.
Who's Hamlet? Nobody knows. Was he feigning madness or he was really mad? Why was he hesitant? There were many questions, and that is why up to this moment people are writing about Hamlet and the other characters because of the mysteriousness of these characters.
Exactly.
So because of the mysterious nature of Heathcliff, it was considered to be one of the most important novels in English literature.
Yes, Professor.
Please go ahead.
And when we analyze these two heroes, Heathcliff and Harold, we see that their thoughts, their inner thoughts are more significant than their actions. Yes, they embark on a journey, but the story is not about the journey itself, but it's about what they discovered or what they find.
The journey was just a means. It was not the end by itself.
Exactly. And from this perspective, Harold and Heathcliff show a higher level of complexity in their emotional and psychological awareness, which wasn't, I would say, as typical for a Victorian hero in itself. Maybe that's why what makes them anti-heroes or Byron heroes. As we know, Heathcliff is an orphan. His past is very mysterious, and he is, as you said, treated less than a human being, less than a slave, or maybe like an animal. And the society isolates these characters, and also they have a contribution in this isolation themselves as well. And through this journey in their emotional world, we see that they came on the stage once more in the second part, and this time they are trying to take revenge, or they are trying to prove themselves, and they are trying to, especially Heathcliff is trying to torture people around themselves. But even this hatred or even this revenge theme is not only about revenge itself, because what Heathcliff suffers from is his love for Catherine.
Yes,
And
Omar. Let me explain this to you. The thing about Heathcliff is that when I said that he's a wild character, he is wild in all his modes. In his hatred, he's wild. In his love, he is wild. In his revenge, he is wild. And that is why I said he is an overreacher, because he exceeds the limits, the normal limits of human beings. The normal limits, for example, of hate, the normal limits of love, the normal limits of revenge, the normal limits of, for example, connecting with people. He exceeds all the limits of a human being, simply speaking, because he feels that it is not his character, it is not his type. It's not about obsession, Malak. As I told you, the peculiarity about this character is that he is wild in all his moods. As I said, when he hates, he does not hate like normal human beings. He hates to the least,
like a
to the
primitive.
maximum. Exactly. As if, yes, impulsive, yeah. Well, it's not only simply about inner conflict. It's about the attitude that he has. You see that he was this clash that can be seen in his character. Imagine, I don't know whether you are familiar with the scholar gypsy or not, or the what we call it, the civilized monster, or there is a term in literature. I'm not. I don't recall it right now. I'm not quite familiar with the term right now. Yes, exactly. He hates to death. So he amalgamates, he synthesizes two completely different things, two extremes: civilization and primitiveness. So he was primitive to the roots, who was wearing the garment of civilization. So he got educated, but that education, I mean, only broadened his sense of revenge, only broadened his sense of love, only broadened. You see that his love was not a normal love. This kind of love is not suitable for this kind of life. You see that the love that he has for Catherine can never fit this life. That is why the only possible and plausible world for this love to be accomplished, to be requited, to be achieved, to be satisfied is not this life, after life. And that is why people started seeing Heathcliff and Catherine walking hand in hand after their deaths. Why? Because this world does not suit this kind of love, is not a proper place for this kind of love to flourish. Is that clear, guys? That is why their love can only be achieved, can only be fulfilled, can only be satisfied in hereafter, in the doomsday, in the life after death. Why? Because this world is not enough for this kind of love. It is wild, it is limitless, it is overreaching, it is not normal at all. Humanity cannot endure it. And that is why you see Catherine suffered because of what? See, the interesting part about Catherine is that she was not ready for this kind of love. The kind of character that she has made her suffer a lot, and this might be the reason behind her demise, behind her death, because she was not that much ready for the violent, wild passions and feelings of Heathcliff, and that is why that might be the reason why she died, because she could not endure it. And you see that his appearance for the second time accelerated her death. She, I remember she mentioned that when she was telling Melody that Heathcliff's love like a rock in the ocean, nothing can change it, while her love for her husband was like foliage that wind can break it. Means what? That she never loved her husband. She married him out of what? Out of conventions. She married him because she thought that if she gets married with Heathcliff, if she marries Heathcliff, she will degrade him, but she was mistaken. And maybe unconsciously she rejected Heathcliff because she could, unconsciously realize that she cannot fit for him because he is too much for her. Her feelings cannot fit together, her emotions, her readiness as a character, etc.
And Professor, all these fetishistic feelings are not safe. That's why she
Exactly.
wanted someone like
Yeah. Exactly. He was too much. I told you, he was too much in all his extremes, in his love, in his hate, in his appreciation, his revenge, in his treatment of the others. So he was a monster in the garment of a human being, and this is not his fault, of course. You see, part of the thing that he has was classified and was justified. Both seek revenge beyond the psychological and cultural borders. They go beyond these boundaries and expect the same from others. Carwan, for Harold, he got the message, especially later, at the end of his life, at the end of his journey, at the end of his travelogue. He realized that he should not focus on personal things. He should be a person that belongs to the world. But for Heathcliff, because I told he is not normal, the thing with him is different. That could be one of the main differences between these two characters. The reason follows what? Follows the obscure and mysterious character of Emily Bronte herself. Imagine once I was reading about her, that she used to spend the entire day sitting in front of the lakes, in front of the marshes, and just contemplating with nature. Why? Because she feels that no one in this world could understand her. No one in this world could understand what she wants and what she demands and what she is yearning for. So she herself considers herself to be a misfit. Why? Because people could not understand her, could not understand, you know, her character and her personality. And there is something very interesting you need to know, guys, is that first of all, she is interested in mysticism. You know, she was highly mystic. She does not believe in this world. She believes that this world, this physical world, does not fit her ideas, her emotions, her passion, just like Heathcliff. And she says something very interesting, very, very interesting. She says that the thing about love is that it is a true union of two souls. So this makes her more like Plato. You know, do you know the equation of the Platonic love? Are you familiar with this, guys? The Platonic love? According to, this is a very interesting and very tricky equation. According to Platonic love, the formula is 1 plus 1 equal 1. 1 plus 1 equal 1. Means what? Means that the, you know, the adding of the union of two souls of two people will what? Will result in one soul, because these two souls will become one. Is that clear? This is why we call it Platonic love, because it does not fit in this physical world. It only fits in the world of ideals, the one that Plato talked about. Because you remember in Plato, he said that everything in this life is a reflection of that world of ideals, right? So this love does not fit here. And she says something very interesting again. She said that many times you look around and you see someone and you feel that you have known this person for your entire life, but actually you don't know him or you don't know her. But the thing is that part of your soul lives in her or in him. Is that clear? So this is why, if you notice that from the early beginning of Heathcliff's arrival to the Hyatts, you see, yes, I'm more Heathcliff than Heathcliff himself. This is what she says. Exactly. This is what Catherine says. So she feels that she is one with Heathcliff. They are both together. And guys, one reason why Catherine might have turned Heathcliff down, maybe her implicit and unconscious idea that he might be her brother, because as I told you, we don't know anything about the past of Heathcliff. He might be Catherine's brother. So this is why she didn't want to be unified, I mean, in this world with him. That might be one of the reasons. Okay, so let's move to Malak, please.
Excuse me, Hocam, can I conclude? Can I finalize our presentation?
Please, please, be quick, because we don't have time.
Okay. I'm going to talk very briefly about the similarities between Harold and Heathcliff in terms of being a romantic misfit. Yeah, Heathcliff, as we said, is a social outcast, a complete outsider and misfit, obviously. In terms of what? In terms of how he is treated by the people in the family and neighborhood, in the Heights. And being distinct, they call him, as you know, dark little thing. Because he had no family name, he belonged nowhere throughout the story. For that reason, Heathcliff does not have any social or domestic status like other Byronic heroes, because they are usually outsiders living on the other sides of their social surroundings, let's say. They are disillusioned with the traps of society as well. But at the same time, they both are somehow mysterious. They became rebellious and monstrous, which is making them exact misfits, actually. As an extra comment, my dear friends, similarly, Byron himself was regarded to be mad, bad, and dangerous to know by one of his lovers. I'm sorry, bad, mad, and dangerous to know. Yeah, as a result, let's say being unable to love or simply able to make the love impossible. Both of our heroes suffer forever. They suffer deeply. They are lonely, and their condition is generally really exhausting throughout the stories. A short and distractive act must be glorified if it's to feel alive, if it is in order to feel alive. And as a matter of fact, my dear friends, romantic heroes, they believed that they were very much aware of the fact that the reality is really harsh and bitter. For which reason is that misfit protagonists can be defined with the words such as really lonely and isolated and misfit and also mysterious. Yeah, this is the antidote. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So Malak, are you ready? Omar?
Yes, dear doctor.
Professor, I just want to say something. What you said about them being reunited at the end of the story when they die. This could have a masochistic sense because neither characters, Heathcliff or Harold, cannot live their emotions in a sensible sense.
Yes,
Therefore,
exactly.
Yes,
Yeah.
Therefore they even torture themselves, and Heathcliff suffers from being mental madness, and similar Harold is the same.
Do we call it masochism or do we call it something else? We call it tantalizing.
Tantalizing. Okay,
Tantalize mean, you know the meaning of the word tantalize?
This is for the first time I heard this.
Tantalize is the kind of pain that you have when you want something so desperately. It is so close to you, but you cannot get it.
Ah, okay. This is
tantalization.
Okay, sir.
So it's a kind of pain that person has, which is what? Which is, you know, you torture somebody by bringing something they in direly need of, but they cannot get it. This is tantalization. Okay, thank you. So Malak, thank you, Omar, for your comment. Malak, you may start, please.
Thank you very much, dear doctor. Before starting, I want to focus on the sense of belonging in both works, dear friends. When it comes to Childe Harold's pilgrimage, from the beginning to the end, we see that the child travels from one country to another. Although he has a family, he has a daughter, he has a wife. Throughout his voyages, he is all alone. This is really important, and also another important point is that wherever, what country he visits, he is always in pursuit of the reminiscence of the past of that countries. For instance, when he goes to Athens, or when he visits Portugal or France, we see that he is so focused on the reminiscence of the past, which shows his great admiration for the values of the past, which is also one of the most important characteristics of the Romantics, as you all remember. But what is so important here is that he leaves all his ties with his country, with his family, and from time to time we see his serious criticism to England, to Europe, because of the wars throughout the centuries. Because we know that Lord Byron was so fond of the sense of freedom, as also the others romantics belong to. But we see that, yes, Heathcliff also travels so much, but not as much as Lord Byron. And this is really interesting because his quotations really emphasizes his need to go, but he does not so much focuses on returning back to England. But this shows us his lack of sense of belonging, which is psychologically so important, dear friends, because it means one component of connecting oneself into the fabric of surrounding people, place, things. So it means that we have social, cultural, intellectual, historical ties with the family, the surrounding, the friends, the country, the institutions that we live in it. But when we see Harold's, it is so interesting that he never hesitates to go from one country to another. This is so interesting because I have some quotations from Lord Byron's own mouth, which shows his really serious criticism and also reveals his loose sense of belonging to his country. For instance, he says that I would not even feed your British worms, he says. And he even doesn't want to be buried in England. He wants to be buried in Italy.
Why is this sense of resentment toward his country?
I think the society has a really serious part in it. I read from the critics, because the pressure of the society which put on the poet was really serious and put the effect of the society, especially that period, was so strong that he couldn't feel that he belonged to such kind of destructive society, as far as I understand, dear doctor.
There is something, guys, again, you need to know. You see that Byron admired the ideas of Jean-Jacques Rousseau. He also admired the character of Napoleon before he turned out to be a dictator. So Byron visited France and he saw what happened after the revolution, at the beginning of the revolution. Not later, of course. Later it turned out to be a complete disappointment for all the people around. So he saw that French people and Italians and even Spaniards started to enjoy a great deal of freedom in their lives. While in England, what happened is that, imagine all those people who sympathized with the revolution were either imprisoned or tortured by the government. So he realized that there is no freedom, there is no empathy, there is no humanity in his country. That's why he resented it. He decided to leave his country because his country does not really support humanity, is not a free, is not a place for, rebellious people with eccentric, let me put it like that, with eccentric ideas to live in. Because, Byron had a lot of eccentric ideas, so his country was not a suitable place, a proper place to live in.
Yes, dear doctor, I agree with you. His sense of freedom was so strong that whenever he came across a country where independence was not available, he always supported these countries. From Greece, because when the period he was in Greece, it was under the government of Ottomans.
Yes, the Ottomans, yes, exactly.
But it doesn't mean that he was against the Ottoman Empire, because we know that he always showed his love for Turkish Ottoman people. But what he was against was not the people. He was the supporter of freedom. So
yes,
this is really important, and it shows his cosmopolitan side of his psychology. So what I want to emphasize here is that yes, he is a cosmopolitan person, but at the same time he had experienced negative sides of it, because we see that he really has serious problems with sense of belonging. And we also see it for Heathcliff. If you remember, my dear friends, when Heathcliff first enters Mr. Katie's house, you remember everybody is shocked because no one has no information about Heathcliff. Also, Heathcliff has no information about himself. He's so little. He has lost his friends. He has no idea about where he comes from. But when we when we put these two characters together, we see that they have a really loose and weak side of sense of belonging, which is a really important part of our psychology, because everyone should belong to a root. Everyone has a root.
What is so tormenting about these two characters, guys? This is not only for Malak, for the guys. What is so tormenting? What is so annoying, destroying about these two? What is the thing that they felt most, that they were denied of? What is it? The thing that tormented them the most?
So I think their identity. They were looking for their real identity.
Okay.
And yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, I think it's more than just an identity there. It's more to it, because both of them, they were seeking to belong, but they are giving also this kind of characteristics that their atmosphere, their surrounding were not accepting those identities. And they wanted to, it seems as if they are imposing that identity, but people were rejecting them. So their ideas too is in there within it. So yeah, I think their ideas is not accepted, and they are really tormented by that, because say for example Heathcliff with Catherine and the Catherine's daughter, how he treated her, that was really unfair, but he really wanted to show that dominance over them. Oh, in Byron, the poet, wherever he goes, when he was in Italy, and when he was in Spain, for example, he see when they were killing the bull, and he was speaking this emotion and speaking about it, but the people were not accepting that.
Exactly.
So their ideas were rejected, and this was tormenting for them.
Thank you. Karwan says their detachment from the mass, nice. Their hunger for love and self-knowledge, right, nice. Lack of feeling loved or valued. Yes, Omar, I want you to pinpoint on this point. This is very interesting. You know, the most tormenting thing about these two characters is their feeling that they are misunderstood. That they are misunderstood. People around them do not understand them. And that is exactly the center, the focus, the source of their suffering and their agony, because nothing that they could do would ever make sense to the people around them. Nothing that they could do would ever make the other people empathize or sympathize with them. Is that clear? So that is exactly the source of their misery, is that they are misunderstood. Malik, thank you so much for your presentation.
Pleasure.
Let's move to Al-Hassan. Al-Hassan, you present on behalf of Safana as well, right? So
yes,
try
doctor.
to be brief, please, because we have very, very limited time.
Okay, doctor. Thank you for your presentation. Actually, I'm going to focus in new.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes,
please
doctor.
go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So me and Mr. Adil, we are just focusing in two themes: nature and love relationship. So we have seen the nature in Wuthering Heights shows Emily love for nature, and she's very familiar with it because she grew up in Yorkshire in England, which is distinguished by its countryside and the views of the sea. So that's why she depicts Wuthering Heights novel as an autobiography, where she wants to depict her place, the countryside, the beautiful of nature in her novel. So most of the ideas about nature were embodied by Emily and Catherine and Heathcliff. So we see Heathcliff, the tough, rough young man who doesn't know his origin, represent the moors and its ambiguity and darkness. Catherine, what she is, the girl with a fickle mood, represent the weather and the fluctuation. Okay, means changeable mood sometimes. So here we have another thing. Catherine was a great believer in the power of nature. So when she fell ill, she was sure that the healthier planet would heal her, and her sought refuge in the tender mother nature. So she has quotation. She said, "I wish I were out of doors. I'm sure I should be myself, where I once among the heathier, don't you move. On those hills, open the window again wide. Fasten it open quick by why I won't give you your death of cold," I answer. Okay, so this is like a quotation of Catherine. So Catherine describes to Neely that her love for Heathcliff is like internal rocks beneath her. So sometimes when we focus about the scene, when they just meet each other, Catherine and Heathcliff and above and the high mountain of Wuthering Heights, especially with the rock. So this is the sense of mix of between the nature and love. But when we see depict the symbol of rock, it's like a tough, hard hatred, okay, towards the situation. And our love, it's beyond the nature. It's such kind of metaphysical love. Okay, so with the child, nature and child Harold, okay, Byron believes that nature is the best companion in mankind to mankind, and it supports a human emotion. He believes that the beauty of nature is better than human evil. Okay, so Harold was tried of that shameless life he lived in his homeland. So he decided to leave and search for a new life in another countries. But during his journey, he felt sad and renewed his hostility to the evil civilization that restricted human freedom after seeing the devastation caused by war. Okay.
Thank you, Al Hassan. Thank you so much.
Most welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, we have no time. Okay, thanks a lot.
Basim, yes, please, Basim. You have like 3 minutes, please. So Basim is not there. Omar.
Okay, sure. So I will just summarize them in a.
Sorry, sir.
Please.
I think that I was speaking when the mute.
No problem. Now it's Omar's turn. We will give you, if there is time, we'll give you at the end of the class. Yes, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, Omar.
So ours is nature and civilization, and I will be speaking on behalf of Hiba as well.
Okay.
And so first and foremost, we define nature within just two categories. We didn't widen the definition of nature. And the definition of nature that we take in the first place is based on the Occam razor's perspective. And the second is how the society really enlarge the ideas and the notion that are accepted within the society. This is our definition of nature. And of course, civilization is what that ideas and thinking is make of the civilization. So, and with this in mind, so what we really focus on is the rhetoric that they use in this book. the rhetoric of nature and how they really present it. And what the rhetoric is in both of these books is love. The feelings, emotion are really the rhetoric within these two. And these feelings and emotion, they were rooted in the heart of everything, in the heart of what they did and what they were thinking. And this really caused such a disaster. It was such a catastrophe that in both of these books, we see the element of whether a man is destroying the nature, or a man is destroying himself, him being a nature. So the civilization it itself, it has this notion, these ideas taken from the Occam razors and civilization by which they develop an idea, and this idea put this together, it becomes a destructive. It becomes a destructive tools in which it destroys itself by itself. And I have quotations, but they are long. I wouldn't want to read them. So, if I may just go ahead and read my last paragraph. So,
Yes.
the need to belong and to be acknowledged, of course, is like engraved with nature and mankind. The degree to which mankind requires love dominates the pillars which hold the very strength of civilization, which in turn is what crippled the essence of civilization. Hence, the common expression, love's conquers. But we think that love's conquest shouldn't just be left like that because it's a feeling and emotion. Therefore, maybe it should be merged with love conquers and ruins. Because in the end, we see love in these two areas, whether love for belonging or love for being acknowledged, breaks what the civilization really is or what the humankind really is. So this is the general idea in our.
Thank you. Thank you, Omar. Thank you so much. So, Basim, please.
Yes, sir. I will summarize what I write about the alienation in two works. Actually, the two characters, the main two characters in this works are try to isolate themselves, and isolate themselves. In Harvard, starts a pilgrimage for many countries, many European countries. Okay, and for Heathcliff, he actually he remains in the same in one place in Wuthering Heights, but except his mysterious journey, after which he comes back on as a rich man and wearing a wealthy clothes. So the two characters are travel, but the first character travel for many countries, for many European countries, but Heathcliff just travel one time. He traveled from mysterious place, mysterious journey, actually. Another aspect, Charlie Harold actually has a strange sense of individual that rise from the scene of isolation and isolation. The bionic spirit actually of individual is widely reflected in the text in the Canto 3. I mean, he explained that he doesn't hate humanity. He just feels that he had nothing to do with the people and doesn't fit with the society. He also states that being around human being would have bad consequence in his soul and in her. In Heathcliff, sorry, we have find the opposite feature. Heathcliff use he depends on the connection with the other people to dominate, to get what he want in this part. Sorry, sir, but I just summarize what I write.
Thank you.
And Harold, he just want to isolate from society to nature. He just want to join to nature. He say he feel identified with nature elements and his environment. Also, we found this in Bounty novel, nature and natural elements reflected in complex psychology of Heathcliff and Catherine. Their relation and their relationship barrels, the weather and at the heights. There are other similarities between the main characters and nature as well, Heathcliff, like the landscape of the novel, is often violent and cold. Catherine is changeable as the weather of the Wuthering Heights. Both Heathcliff and Catherine love the moor, which is the space of freedom, and want to escape from their house. Actually, Heathcliff continue feeling being different from the other characters in the novel. He reflected that it's reflected in his relative, in his relationship with the relatives and neighbors. They receive him, and they receive him in the house, and later on mistreats and insult him. Thank you, sir. This is the summarize. I actually
Thank
write
you.
but this is the summarize of
Thank
what I.
you. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, guys, we have two characters. As I mentioned, that they feel that this world is not a suitable place for them. One considers himself to be completely cosmopolitan. There shouldn't be any limits. There shouldn't be any borders. He can go anywhere, and he could see, freedom practiced anywhere. It's true that he started his journey as an immature, as inexperienced person who was seeking personal and individual goals, but ended with this feeling that he is for humanity, and that he is with the love and respect for all human beings. That is why he wants to bring and he wants to achieve justice for those oppressed people, and he wants to achieve freedom for those people who were enslaved. Because, as I mentioned, he felt that he was highly influenced by Jean-Jacques Rousseau. And, one of the most important axiomatic phrases of Rousseau, when he says that man is born free, but he is in chain everywhere. So this sense of being chained is the real motive behind Harold's travels and adventures, and before them, of course, of Byron himself. When we go to the character of Heathcliff, again, we see a character who was completely alienated by the society, first because of a sin that he did not commit. He did not ask Earnshaw to bring him there. He did not ask his parents who they are to bring him to this world. So he felt that he could not understand why people are blaming him for things that he could not do. I mean, he could not afford to avoid. What could he do to avoid being brought to that world, or to be brought to that family? He could not do anything. It was not his fault. So why were people blaming him for the sins that he never committed, for the things that he felt that they are out of his control? That is why this ignited and it triggered this relentless passion that is completely extreme, limitless, to revenge, to love, to hate, to destroy, etc. So, as I told you, he has this insatiable desires of not normal human beings, but monsters. And he felt that this world is not a suitable place for living, and no one can understand him. The same thing with Lord Byron and with his creation. All right, guys. Thank you so much for your presentations, and thank you so much for listening. I wish that you got some useful points in these discussions. For next time, we will discuss two other writers, and I guess next week will be holiday, right, guys?
Yes, sir. I think so.
Yes, doctor. That's right.
I was informed by Professor Sada, but I'm not quite sure. So if it is a holiday, then we will meet the week after. And oh, thank you, Rasul. Thank you so much. Thank you, really. You guys have contributed as much as I did. As much as I've done to this class, and I wish you all the best. I hope that you will enjoy the rest of your day, and I will be looking forward to meeting you, if not next week, the week after, hopefully. See you all, guys. And in case you have, if you have got any question, you can type it here. I'm sure that you've got a class after this. So this is where I want to end up. So if you've got any question, please, type it here. Wish you all the best of luck and see you guys.
Thank you so much, Hocam. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Most welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Most welcome, guys.